All right, we are back. This is actually going to be our final episode before the season starts. So it's going to be our 10-minute auction draft prep. Prep for your auction draft real quick. Kind of trying to go over everything we've talked about real quick and some main points. So won't waste any time. The main point I think we started on our 3 tips episode when we really started was just be aggressive. And I think that's the biggest key is be aggressive in your draft. Don't wait around forever. Get your guys early. Know who your guys are you want. Nominate them if they haven't been nominated by the time you come up for your pick. Nominate them and get them so you can then plan the rest of your draft. And if you don't get them, you need to pivot very quickly. That's to me the biggest thing. Be aggressive. We've done it in all of our drafts, and I feel like you feel so much better when you're aggressive and you get those guys early and you sit around in the mid rounds and like, all right, I'm good right now. I'll figure it out in a little bit, but you got your guys.
No doubt. And if you really are watching this to prep very quickly before your draft, I tell you, you do not want to be caught halfway through the draft and not having anyone. So go after it and make sure you get the high quality guys. It'll make your life a whole lot easier.
It will. We've gone through a bunch of different strategies too, as we've gone this year. The one I keep going back to this season, not everyone agrees with it, but I feel like it's just the way I want to go. It's studs and duds. And it feels like I go for a couple top guys, pretty much 2 top guys, I'd say. It could be running back. It could be running back, wide receiver. I just feel so much more confident in my team when I have those stars because a lot of the middle round guys are fine, but I don't just find myself gravitating towards them this year. There's not the $20, $30 players aren't what I'm like, I have to have that guy. There's a lot of guys cheaper that I like. We'll talk about in a minute. And that's part of the reason why there's some cheaper guys I like. Mm-hmm. So I'm spending my money. I've got Bijan. I've got McCaffrey. It's just the way I'm going this year, and I like the way it's been playing out.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it becomes a lot easier when you get the high-end guys. And we know the ones that we like. CMC, Bijan, Breece Hall, number 3 for me.
Yep.
And then on the wide receiver side, who are the guys that you gravitate towards, like your top 3? If you were going to pick, one of each.
The ones I feel most confident in. Well, now I feel most confident in CeeDee Lamb now that he's signed.
Yep.
I feel really good about that. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, I feel great about him. I think he's just, how is he not going to get catches? Obviously, injury can stop all of this.
Yeah.
But St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb should absolutely get a bunch of catches and be in really good shape. Those are my 2 that I'm really. And Justin Jefferson, I don't honestly care who his quarterback is.
I'll be honest, I do. He's one that I stay away from.
But he gets a little cheaper, slightly, barely, but slightly.
He goes for the same amount as Amon-Ra. Yeah. I will take Amon-Ra.
Okay, true. I'm with you. But those guys, I love those guys.
Yeah,
I absolutely love them. I think they're set. So just go after that type. Some other stuff we talked about were this happened in 2 of our drafts. Mistakes to avoid. And my biggest thing now I've realized is pay attention. Pay attention as the draft is going on. Even if a guy is nominated that you're not, all right, it's not who I want. I don't want him, so I'm just going to not pay attention. This happened in one of our leagues we did. Lamar Jackson gets nominated. We've talked about it. He gets nominated. His bid got to 2nd. Me and Jeff, I think, are both in the same spot where we're not going for him. So we just look elsewhere. We're starting to look at our board. We're trying to see who else is there. And guess what? He went for $2 because none of us, we weren't. Pay attention. Be watching that clock and be like, no one else is bidding. Quick bid. Like, because if you did that one bid, it's not like he's just going to all of a sudden be stuck at 3. It's going to go higher and higher, and the more money's going to be off the board. It also happened then in our subscriber league. Was it AJ Brown? Who was it?
Devontae Adams.
Or Devontae Adams. So it was an aging receiver.
Yep.
Devontae Adams went for $2. Same deal. Where it's one of those guys, not really into it. I'm not going to go for Devontae Adams, right? I'm thinking, no way. But we look elsewhere. We were on the live, so we're talking. Guess what? He went for $2. Insane. You would think that I've heard people say, "Oh, that never happens." That's stupid. It's happened twice.
Yeah.
So.
And I will say the big thing, I love auction, and one of the biggest things that you can have in there is you can be active for every single guy. It doesn't matter. I mean, until you run out of money, you can be in there causing chaos. You can do whatever you want. So use that to your benefit. Like, if I threw in to make sure that someone didn't get Devontae Adams, if I was paying attention, make sure they don't get him for $2, who's to say that I don't accidentally get him for $5? And let's be honest, I'm not aiming for him, but that'd be an amazing thing, less than $10. So, I'm not saying get crazy with driving up prices, but be in the mix. Pay attention. Make sure that guys aren't getting huge deals.
Yeah, you don't want to get to the point where it's more than you want and you get stuck with somebody, but just don't let it get. there's a price that you'd want everybody.
Yeah.
And I would have wanted Devontae Adams for a good chunk after what he went for.
Definitely.
Like it just, man, it's still crazy to think. Yeah. We talked at the beginning about being aggressive and nominate the guys you want, and that's what you should do early. But once you have those guys, flip it and start nominating guys that take money off the board. Do that. Make sure you're doing that. There are guys you can sneak in there too that are lower price guys probably at that point, but don't sneak in rookies. It won't work. Rookies are always going to go for, in my mind, whatever you're drafting on says they're going to be and probably more. You're never going to get a deal, but there are some guys you can find for a deal when you're nominating. This happens in every year. We nominate like a mid-priced running back early. He seems to go for way cheaper.
Yep.
Like a David Montgomery. He's the one I go back to as an example. You can probably get him for $5 at some point in the draft. So just kind of watch how you're nominating, get money off the board, but also, maybe get a steal in there. All right. How about some players here? Players we're avoiding. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again. I'm avoiding Travis Kelce. Do not draft Travis Kelce. If you want more on it, go find our episode on, I don't know which one. Do not draft this player in auction drafts, I think it's called. Don't draft Travis Kelce. Don't do it. Absolutely don't do it. You got one, Jeff, that you don't want us to touch?
I mean, I think just because I think you in auction, you're not locked into it. So even more than picking correctly, I think you just can't shit the bed with a guy. And honestly, that is why Justin Jefferson this year, I'm staying away from.
I said I like him.
I know, and I get it. He's one of the most talented wide receivers, but if he's still a top 5 guy, I don't think his real worry is that with Darnold, he will not be able to get top 5 output. Same thing with Kyren.
Yeah.
Kyren Williams is a running back. He is a talented guy, but let's be honest, I don't think that it's going to be him being the bell cow. I think that I would rather put my money towards Jonathan Taylor, a little more for Bijan, anything like that. I think you can't put that large of a money in guys that have a risky output. So I would say those 2 guys for sure for me.
If you talk about like must-have players, who do I absolutely need to get in a draft this year? And mine, I keep coming back to, just a dirt cheap guy, but I just really love him this year, and it's Chase Brown. And I want to have Chase Brown on every team. And if I don't, I feel really disappointed. I told somebody from work today, asked me about a player or asked me about the draft, and I just had to mention Chase Brown. We talk about anything else, but I'm like, hey, just remember Chase Brown's name. Like, just later on, remember Chase Brown. It was a snake draft, so it's different, but just remember Chase Brown. Snake draft's a little harder to get him. You have to maneuver here. You can get him. You can make sure you get him. So I love Chase Brown. Do you have that guy that you like, just you have to get?
Yeah, I mean, the homer pick this year, I've brought him up multiple times, but I think Jameson Williams.
Yeah,
he's unbelievable talent that is finally going to be able to be used fully for an entire year. Detroit Lions, he's going to be wide receiver number 2. I think for $1 or $2, he is a lottery ticket. Put him on your bench. You won't be you won't be sad about it. There is a lot of other guys we can go through, but you'll probably have to hit up our other.
Check out the other stuff around that. So I'll say one of them that's a gamble/league winner for me. I think he's on both of the gamble list, and he was a league winner list. Anthony Richardson. I really think he can have a big year. And I'm not like, that's why he's a gamble though. He's a gamble, but he's also a league winner. Yeah. It's a weird thing where he is a gamble because he's not $1 or $2 at quarterback, but he's still not that much where it's going to break anything if he's not as good. I love getting him, but I've started to realize you could pair him with a safer guy. You could. I kind of like pairing him with Jaden Daniels. I think I'm doubling down on it.
You've mentioned that before. I knew you were going to go full on into it.
Yeah.
I think that there's some interesting rookies. There's always a worry about them not being able to get their passing going, but that's why he's such an interesting one because he will get rushing.
Yep, exactly. And if you're in a small, like a 10 or a 12 team league, that's why I'm not even worried about doing that, because if you miss, you know what? Jared Goff's probably on your waiver wire. Kirk Cousins is probably on your waiver wire. You're going to have some safety out there that's going to do that for you.
Yep.
Anything else here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say the other guy that is a risk, but I absolutely love because he's another mid-price guy, but he could go for more. It's Cooper Kupp. I think he's finally healthy. Yep. I really do think that he's going to still be the alpha number 1 wide receiver in LA. Yep. I think he is a huge upside play. We've already seen him win the triple Triple Crown.
Right.
But I think he's another one
Yep.
just like Anthony Richardson, where if you put a little bit money in, you can get far more out of it, more bang for your buck.
Yep.
Anyone else that you want to name, if you were just trying to give people 10 minutes just loading them up?
The only other thing I'd say is, like, don't forget about the old guys we talked about. Stephon Diggs, I like for $19. He's not done. So that's the last one.
Don't shy away from
Yep.
those. And I will say the other running backs that I think, did you already mention Montgomery?
Yeah, he's like the cheap guy. If you kind of, he's going to go for cheap, and
He's a very interesting
Yep.
one. Mostert is a
Yep.
cheaper running back that I think is very interesting. And I don't think Eckler is done yet. Those guys are all cheaper
Yep.
running backs that if you do go studs and duds, they're great to be your
Yep.
second, third, fourth, whatever running back.
don't forget about Tyjae Spears and Jalen Warren. But all
Yep.
right, I think
Those are
that'll
good.
do it. All right, we win 11 minutes. All right,
Okay.
sue us. All right, that'll be good luck in your drafts this weekend.